Good afternoon, everybody. It was great to see you. And Supervisor Mitchell, thanks for joining us today. We truly appreciate it. I'm just going to make a couple really quick remarks, and then we'll get into the good stuff. So as all of you that have been joining us regularly these past 13 months know, we've been doing these broadcasts to give you a sense of what's going on at Chrysalis. And today is particularly an auspicious day because it's reopening day across the state, and I think a lot of us are really relieved that we've made the progress we have, thanks in large part to the leadership of the Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Mitchell, and a lot of the other leaders here in the community that have kept us safe. Here at Chrysalis, we've continued to provide virtual services, and just through April, so far this year, we've welcomed virtually over 1,000 new clients, and 600 of them have found outside jobs. So we're really proud of that momentum. We've also got over 700 clients a week that are working in our social enterprises, but we can't wait to get back to work face to face. Our staff began coming back to the office this month in person, at least one day a week, and we're looking forward to welcoming our clients back in person over the summer. We know that our services are going to be needed now more than ever by the community, and we're looking forward to getting back to work. But enough about Chrysalis and enough about me. We are really honored to have Supervisor Holly Mitchell from the 2nd Supervisory District with us today. She's already on screen, but I'd also like to bring on May Gates, who's our Government Relations Manager, that's going to be helping moderate today's discussion. And in just a couple of minutes, our colleague Michael Graf Weissner will be helping us to manage the Q&A. So again, Supervisor Mitchell, thanks again so much for your leadership and joining us today. And May, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I am May Gates. I am the Government Relations Manager here at Chrysalis, and I have the honor of introducing a personal shero and our representative, Supervisor Holly Mitchell. Before she began her long run in public service, she served us in the 54th Assembly District. And she also served as the CEO of Crystal Stairs before that. And then she moved on to the Senate to serve us in the 30th Senate District. And now we have the honor of having her in the Board of Supervisors, the 2nd Supervisory District, which includes Los Angeles, Culver City, Inglewood, Hawthorne, Lawndale, Gardena, Linwood, and Compton. I could go on and on about her many accomplishments and how she served the public. But in the interest of our limited time with the supervisor today, I'm going to pass it over to you, Madam Supervisor, to give us your introduction. And we have a very special tradition here at Chrysalis where we always ask our guests to let us know what their first job was. I know you have had many. And so if you can remember your first job, let us know what it was.
Mark and May, thank you very much. May, thank you for that lovely introduction. You know, it's funny that many times people have assumed I worked at Chrysalis because they confuse Crystal Stairs with Chrysalis. So I hope that bodes well for you if people assume that I've worked for the organization at some point, because you guys do stellar work. Thank you. Yeah, May, I don't know if it's a good thing that I've had a lot of jobs. You're not supposed to say that.
You've done phenomenal in all of them.
I appreciate you. Thank you, May. That's a good recovery. I think my first job was at Famous Amos Cookies on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. My cousin was the manager of that store, and I worked 1 year, probably below the legal work requirement age, to be perfectly honest. I was probably 14 at Famous Amos. And what was so wonderful about that was at the end of the night, we had to clear out all the cookies that hadn't sold, and they came home with me. And we had our freezer full of Famous Amos cookies. So I worked at Famous Amos.
That is a great first gig. I was a hostess my first job at a restaurant. And so, yes, I can relate to those leftovers at the end of the shifts. A little bit of pounds heavier, but always good.
Right. That's right. That's right.
Well, Madam Supervisor, you know, we have a lot going on right now in Los Angeles County across the board. Today is our reopening day, but what we've been grappling with, not only in LA, but across California, as you know, is this exacerbation of our homelessness crisis. And so briefly, I know this is a huge ask and a huge question, but give us, the snapshot and the rundown of what are the priorities looking like with the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors to really stop homelessness in Los Angeles County.
I appreciate that. And let me just first talk about June 15th. Yes, we're reopening, but I've got some real mixed feelings about it. 42% of the Black population in LA County is vaccinated, and only 50% of the Latinx population. As we go into the younger age groups, like 16 to 24, those numbers are far worse. And so I'm really imploring us all that, yes, well, we are all ready to break out and go to outside music concerts. That's my top of mind thing I want to do this year. I hope that people are going to continue to make a decision that's best for them, their families, and communities. I'm proud to be fully vaccinated. Can't encourage people enough to be vaccinated. Those that have chosen not to thus far, I hope that you will at least have conversations with your doctor, with other trusted sources to talk about why, so we can dispel any myths that may be preventing you from making that decision. And in the meantime, I think it's important that we continue to wear our masks. Frankly, even as a vaccinated person, I'm going to continue to wear my mask when I'm in the grocery store, certainly when I travel. We still have to on airplanes and all forms of public transit. But I'm a little nervous when we consider the number of people whose communities have already been disproportionately impacted by this virus, to see all the news coverage of us reopening and thinking we can go back to things as they were March 3rd of 2020. And I just want us to be mindful. I don't want to see hospitalizations and potentially deaths tick up again, particularly in our amongst our unhoused family, friends, and neighbors, those who are working frontline, just because we have not reached community immunity yet. We got to get more people vaccinated. I appreciate you. So, my goal as a member of the board and our goal as a whole is to have enough quality housing for everyone who calls LA County home. And I'm committed to working with my colleagues at the City of LA and all 88 cities that constitute the board to make sure that we are preserving existing units, which is something very important to me, action I took as a state legislator, that we're preventing more families from falling into homelessness, and that we're building the needed permanent, supportive, and interim housing sites we need. I am not one of these build this versus that kind of people. I think we've got to build it all to meet the collective needs of every LA County resident. We're in full swing in the middle of this county budget season, and that we're going to continue to make sure that people get the services they need as well as housing. For example, the county has created Stay Housed LA, a rental assistance program for people facing hardship due to the pandemic and who are unable to pay their rent. And this is helping us prevent more people from falling into homelessness. We've got to stem that tide of people becoming homeless, particularly as a result of the pandemic. I'm really thrilled that as a part of the American Rescue Act, we'll have thousands of additional emergency housing vouchers to help the housing insecure and unhoused people get housed as soon as possible. And we're putting Measure H dollars to work. We're negotiating and talking about what that dollar amount must be for 2021-22. And both the board and key stakeholders are really looking at an allotment of about $527 million that are going to provide services, again, such as rapid rehousing and prevention. And lastly, I just touch on Project Home Key, which, I'm proud of the work that the state did, moving quickly, because government doesn't always have a reputation of responding fast. And I have to say, in this pandemic, I've witnessed and experienced and been a part of actions taken at really for government breakneck speed, from Operation Room Key to Operation Home Key, to really protect older adults and those with pre-existing health conditions. And lastly, I would just say in my district, there are any number of innovative models that are coming online. We've got a safe landing spot in West Athens that will open soon, that will focus on supporting people with disabilities, with mental health challenges. And so I think those are just a snapshot of some of the issues that we're working on together as a board and some of the programs that are coming on board, coming online in the 2nd District that I'm really deeply proud of.
And that's why I love you, Supervisor Mitchell, because you give us a snapshot, but you tell the whole story. And we all know here in Los Angeles County, the housing crisis is not just a housing crisis, it's a mental health crisis, right? It's a development crisis, a land use crisis, a food security crisis, workforce development. And you really just walked us through, how do we take these concurrent and these interlinked steps to solve this huge crisis that a lot of folks think is really just about a number of units, but it's always been so much more than that.
It is.
And so how we talk about the intersections of those issues here at Chrysalis, we are a direct service provider and we have a come one, come all approach. We try to help as many folks as possible with as many backgrounds as possible. And so that means we're really servicing Angelenos that maybe have a gap in employment, that may be systems involved, that may be experiencing that housing instability or completely unhoused. And so we work with a lot of different issues at the same time. It's never just about getting them the job. It's about that holistic support. And I know well before you even got to the county, you were doing a lot, especially in the criminal justice space with the Equality and Justice criminal justice bill package you passed in the Senate. And you continue that at the County Board of Supervisors. We've seen you hit the ground running, and even just very recently, we got that motion passed by you that you offered to get that additional oversight of the sheriff. And also, really ensuring that we're moving forward on progressive justice reform. And so what are your priorities as an LA County supervisor on those issues of workforce development, as well as criminal justice? What role do you see the county playing in those issues? And what is your vision for the 2nd Supervisorial District in those issue areas?
Okay, that's a lot.
I know. Take a stab.
As I listened to your question, you talked about, all those interlocking issues that impact, our ability to thrive and be well. Maybe it's me and my life experience and the community I live in, or the company I keep, or where I come from. But, I can't think of one person, quite frankly, that it hasn't been impacted by one of those systems or one challenge, be it the impact implicit bias plays and your ability to find high quality, affordable housing, whatever. And so when you think about it from a 10,000-foot level, every Angeleno is impacted by some system that we have a collective responsibility to improve and make better for everybody. And so I think when we think about it that way, we really realize that it's everybody's job to put our shoulder to the grindstone to make it better. When you talk about my priorities, the reason I chose to run for the Board of Supervisors was because of all the work that I did really kind of leading up to it. All the work I've done, quite frankly, my entire professional career. My entire career has focused on developing poverty disrupting policies because I recognize the role poverty plays in feeding into our juvenile justice system and feeding into our child welfare system, the number of kids in foster care. Poverty is the number one indicator of a child entering that system, how it is fed into and influenced our criminal justice system. And so poverty disruption. And so how do you do that? Jobs, educational opportunities for those who have not been afforded. So, early care and education, making sure our young kids are primed and ready. And that their working families have a safe place for their kids to go so they can work. To the same issues that really, quite frankly, drove me to run for office initially back in 2008 at the state level, really have brought me to the county, that it allows me to come down from the kind of the 10,000-foot policy creating level, really to the county level where it all hits the road, where we really operationalize these programs. So, creating jobs for people, particularly those facing homelessness. I'm supporting SB 424, a bill to establish a $30 million homeless hiring tax credit. We hope that it will be included in the budget that the legislature passes and the governor ultimately signs. So creating opportunities to invest in this population. We're promoting this year in partnership with some tech firms, a paid internship for 100 South LAU, some of whom will be systems involved, some of whom may have experienced being unhoused, to create an opportunity to pull them into and create opportunities for seamless transition into the tech industries. Around justice reform, the county has been very proactive, and I'm proud of that. The commitment to close Men's Central Jail, the commitment to create a care first, jail last policies, and to create our budget based on those shared values. The work around funding youth justice being reimagined, increased accountability for law enforcement, and again, Measure J, making sure that we stand up this program in its first year in a way that honors the wishes of the voters, the way that allows us to do so within the confines of the county budget, and really supports community-based organizations like Chrysalis to really be a part of and to drive that care first model as a real way to disrupt the cradle to prison pipeline. Sounds like a lot. That's why I'm aging by the day and getting more gray hair by the day. But quite frankly,
you look amazing.
Thank you.
You look amazing.
But quite frankly, those are the issues that are my why and what really compelled me to run for office, and what I know the residents of the 2nd Supervisorial District need from their elected leader at the county, and what I hope to deliver. And finally, your question about what, really I ultimately hope to accomplish. I'm very proud of the team of staff that I've been able to hoodwink and bamboozle to come work for me. But it's a great group of young professionals. And we've spent a lot of time, particularly in my first 100 days in office, asking them their why, myself sharing with them my why, and coming together and building our kind of our own corporate culture about how we work together and what our priorities are. And so, of course, all of them that I had the opportunity to interview directly want to know, what do you hope to accomplish? And some things are very specific, dealing with the unhoused, boom, boom, boom. But other things are more of a feeling or desired look for the district. And I really want the district to feel like and represent the unique, very beautiful, culturally diverse life experience and priorities of the people who call it home. When I drive east to west or south to north, I want those communities to proudly reflect the diversity and the desires of the people who call them home. And that will vary based on community. But ultimately, that's my wish for the people who have chosen to raise their families and who wish to grow old with dignity in the 2nd Supervisorial District.
So many gems there, so many gems. How do I even respond? And I know we only have you for 10 more minutes. We already have questions coming in. And so we now have Mr. Michael Graf Weissner with us, who will transition into our last 10 minutes of Q&A with you, trying to get as many things answered as possible while we have some precious time with you.
Wonderful. So again, thank you, Supervisor Mitchell, and thank you, May. And hello to our audience today. Thanks for joining us. So my name is Michael Graf Weissner, he, him, his, and I'm Chrysalis's Vice President of Strategy and External Relations. It's great to be here today. So I want to join the conversation and bring in some of the questions from the audience and from the chat. So let me start with the first question, which relates to a major accomplishment from a prior role of yours, and that is the passage of the Crown Act. And thinking back and looking forward, and maybe you can share with us and why that legislation was so important and how you see it impacting the workforce today.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And never would I have imagined that the Crown Act would have become an international topic. It got me in Oprah magazine. Oprah designated me a visionary leader. So I was in O magazine in February of 2020, which was an amazing experience. It's now passed in 12 states. There's a bill that's passed the House of Representatives. It's in the US Senate. I've been on panels with thought leaders from around the world, from London and France to Brazil, to Latin America, talking about the whole, Afro-Latina experience with our hair. And fundamentally, it's an issue of discrimination, where, Black women largely, Black men too, are the only group of people who could be told that our personal choice in how we choose to wear our hair was out of compliance with school dress codes or HR policies for a company. To see the sheer number of Black girls who had been suspended from school all over this country because of how they chose to wear their hair, a style that is that your natural hair texture accommodates, like mine. I've been locked now for 17 years. And to look at the raw data, to look at the number of court cases that folks lost over the years because there was no protections for natural hair or natural hair protected styles in the law. And so I was proud to pass the Crown Act, created an open and respectful world for natural hair, that basically says that hair is a race-based trait. Because of my race, my hair grows in a very different texture, and that I shouldn't be expected to alter my hair's texture to meet a dress code. That straight hair is not more professional than my natural hair texture, and that we were no longer going to subscribe to a Eurocentric view of what was professional, attractive, or acceptable. So that's the history around the Crown Act. It is, like I said, taken off like wildfire, and I'm very proud. It's also, to some degree, deeply disturbing, the kinds of conversation that still takes place. I think the Crown Act has created an opportunity to educate people who didn't know about how my hair may be different from yours, and that it's okay, and that I have a right to wear it in its natural state to work, because how I choose to wear my hair had zero impact on the 90 bills that I got signed into law, my ability to chair the Senate Budget Committee for the 5th largest economy in the world, or my ability to represent 2 million people on the LA County Board of Supervisors. It is simply how I choose to wear my hair in its natural state. That's the Crown Act.
I have to jump in because I think you're being humble. I was in Sacramento as a policy fellow when the Crown Act passed, and it was a lot of Black girl magic going on in those halls. And if I'm not mistaken, that was the first bill that Governor Newsom signed.
It was.
Which is a huge accomplishment, which is why I'm like, you're being humble.
Well, that's so kind of you. I don't think it was the first bill he signed, but it was the first bill that he had a bill signing ceremony for.
Exactly.
And it was a big deal. So we were in his office. It was his first hosted bill signing at this desk that, that some former governor had, signed major life-changing bills on. It was a big deal to him. But what was so significant to me, quite frankly, in that moment were his comments. He and I had taped the ABC National Morning News the day before, and he tweeted and linked me and tagged me in the tweet. And so I was getting some of the hateful responses as well. People saying, well, it's just hair, what's the big deal? Go get a job. California, of all the things that are important to you, like the unhoused, this is what you choose to focus on. So I was very proud that during the bill signing ceremony, he said, people may say it's just hair, but it's not. It is a form of discrimination. I, of course, quickly said, I'm able to walk and chew gum. And so, yeah, I am introducing the Crown Act and a bill to stop landlords from discriminating based on source of income, my Section 8 voucher bill, and criminal justice reform, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not a one-trick pony, neither is this governor. But it really was important and meant a great deal to me personally for him to say, literally, I see you. And I understand, even though it is not my walk, that this is an issue, that I too find that it's based in racist ideology, And I'm proud to step up as the first governor in this state to say it's unacceptable. So you're right, it was a big deal. And I'm very, very proud of that personal accomplishment.
Thank you for that. And thanks for talking about it today. Appreciate you. So to walk and chew gum, or to ask questions and chew gum, I'm going to switch topics a bit. And the next question relates to a recent visit that you made to the Doors Reentry Center here in LA County. And for those on the call that don't know, the Doors Center is a new model led by LA County and provides a wide range of services and support for those on probation, those reentering our community. And Chrysalis is one of the service providers at Doors. We provide employment services at Doors and are proud to have been part of the launch. And the question is, how do you see a model like Doors playing a role in reentry services in LA County going forward?
And so, it was a wonderful tour, just, deeply saddened that it, thanks to COVID, it was an empty building, that I wasn't able to see people participate, experiencing the amazing, thoughtful process that went into designing the space. Having run a nonprofit organization, Crystal Stairs, I was always very thoughtful about the experience a client had when they entered our space. It impacts everything. It impacts your attitude, how you feel you're received, all those things. So the space was beautifully designed and thoughtful in its layout. And so I must compliment all those who had part of that decision-making process. And for me, as I expressed that day, it's just the kind of integrated system that makes government work. Human beings, we don't live our lives in silos. And so it's not about, I'm going to touch this one government agency and then all my challenges will go away. It really is about what government can do to create integration in our services to make the experience of our clients as seamless as possible. So I can come through doors, literally, and walk through multiple doors to have every service needed. And so I saw, everything from job training and placement to, GED attainment, to be able to meet with your probation officer. So all of those government systems are there to organically meet the need of their client. And I think that's how government is most useful in reality, operates much more cost efficiently, and enables us to break down silos that government funding and often regulation and code helps to create.
Supervisor Mitchell, we could continue this conversation for another hour, but I know you have a hard out right at 3:30 and we're at 3:29, so we want to respect that and so appreciate your time. And you can get your resume mixed up with Chrysalis and Crystal Stairs anytime. Anytime. We'd be proud to have that association. Thanks again for your time. And for those of you in the chat that had some questions we couldn't get to, we have some staff members from the supervisors team that are with us, and we'll be sure to circle back so that we can get those questions answered to you. Thanks again, Supervisor, for your time, and thanks everyone for joining us today.